Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the David Lynch Show. I'm Captain Logan, and here is Austin, the Day Ghost. Oh, hey, Austin, could you flip your camera up just a little bit so everybody can see you better? Because right now,
Couldn't have said that before the show.
yeah, I didn't notice it until just now because I was looking at the title of the
I
show.
was
And
gonna do like a little jig, and then I can't do it anymore. I mean, I
well,
technically just did, but
we could have picked like really wild camera angles and just spent the whole time not mentioning it or why we did it, and just let people try to read something into it, like it was symbolic of something.
well, I actually set up my ceilings that like little like sperm worms were gonna fly down as I did my little dance, and I was gonna step on them, but then it fell through, so now they're just up there.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah, because movies like this strike me as like the almost the horror version of Andy Kaufman, where you just spend like 15 minutes wondering why. So like we could have opened this video with just neither of us are here, and there's maybe just like an old man wandering around in the background on of
This is a
the
bar of soap.
of the set, and yeah.
Yeah, except it's the horror version, so it's like this is a bar of soap.
It's just really creepy. Or there's just a lady with paper mache face, like sitting right here, just staring at you like this.
Yeah, doing a little dance.
Yeah, exactly.
She
This
has
is
some money.
this is not the David Lynch Show. This is the ReQuest. For a while, it felt a little bit like the David Lynch Show, just because Connor had made me do, I mean, a couple of things. I don't mean to act like I did a million David Lynch things, but I had to do enough of it, and that it became kind of clear, and enough things like things that David Lynch makes. Between that and some Stanley Kubrick stuff, and of course those guys knew each other, and Kubrick was a big fan of him, and vice versa, I'm sure. But it became really clear that these are not my favorite things to sit through and talk about much of the time, and I think a lot of folks started kind of laying off of it a little bit, including Connor, who was like, okay, with Straight Story, this is the last time I'm gonna make you do this. And then, like, I don't know, a couple months after Straight Story, here comes Jeremy Scott swooping in going, okay, well, if Connor has lost that mantle, I'll take it up, and I'll make Cap watch some more David Lynch things. So now we're back to Lynch again.
Yeah, and I've missed all of that. This is my first full-length David Lynch thing. I've seen that little monkey short he made, but that's about it.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that you hadn't seen any Lynch stuff.
hmm Yeah, no, this is my first thing, except for that little monkey. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I don't know what that is.
Short film he
I
made.
don't know what we're talking about.
He made a video, like it's a YouTube video. He made a short film where he's like a detective and he interviews a monkey where they've like taken, I think, probably his mouth, and they like put it on the monkey, and it like talks to him.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why did he
was
do
my
that?
introduction. I don't know. It was funny.
So, Austin was not with me when I did Straight Story, and there's a part of me that kind of wishes you were, because your first David Lynch thing would have been arguably the most straightforward and like, normal character-driven kind of, A to B, beginning, middle, and end kind of movie that he's made, and then you'd come into this and be like, oh, this is David Lynch, okay, but I guess. For your own edification, it's probably better that you're doing it this way, because this is Lynch's first movie, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And that was the Straight Story was my like the first casualty I've had on the show being Canadian, and that it was like impossible to get. I would have had to have waited like 5 weeks to order it through.
Oh yeah, that was the whole reason you weren't there, is we just couldn't get you a way to watch it.
Yeah. For whatever reason.
So I had to do it by myself.
Disney.
And this is not me saying I'm glad you weren't there, Austin, because it would have been a lot of fun to talk about that together, assuming that you liked it at all, because I really enjoyed that movie. It's actually weirdly one of my favorite things we've done on this show. But I had so much to say about that, I kind of didn't mind going solo. I think I did 45 minutes all by myself on that.
Yeah, I thought you did like at least near, if not a full hour.
It felt like a rewind. I just couldn't stop talking about it. Like...
Yeah.
I did an almost full-on analysis of that movie. That won't happen with this.
Are you sure?
This will be much more of a standard how we felt about, and I mean, I'll mention a couple of things here and there about what I think the movie is getting at and all of that. But one viewing, it's like Fight Club, but even more so. Like I can't give you a full on like. I don't even want to say story analysis because this is just such a different kind of movie, but like, you know, artistic analysis. What do these things mean? What do I think all the symbolism is about and all of that? So this is going to be, you know, I'll make this as unsurface as possible, but I mean, you know, I need more time with a thing like this to really get at what it's getting at, because with a lot of things, honestly, just having seen it last night and having had, you know, like half a day to think about it, I don't know what a lot of this is getting at, or at least a lot of individual elements. The main theme is very, very clear from almost the beginning. Beyond that, there's just a whole lot of, and then this really bizarre thing is happening, and I don't know why I'm looking at it. And when you get to the end, with a thing like this, you kind of hope that while you've been kind of sitting through a lot of disturbing and bleak and bizarre and weird imagery, you'll get to the end and a light bulb will go off, and you'll go, oh, okay, that's what it was getting at with all these... I did not have that with quite a few things with this movie, I have to say.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There's like a lot of stuff where I'm like, okay, like this is, like you said, like the kind of overall theme. There's stuff in the middle where I'm like, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure. I mean, this is the type of movie you watch and you analyze and you kind of pick up more and more as you go on. And both of us have only seen it one time, so it's like, whoa, you know, everything's crazy.
Yeah, right away I'll say this is an interesting study before this was an entertaining film. And it's clearly not meant to be an entertainment in the way that like a blockbuster is, or even a standard drama where it's disturbing and it's supposed to be. I'm uncomfortable and I'm supposed to be. Lynch wants you to, through a surreal and, you know, kind of outlandish, bizarre metaphor, make you feel the way that he maybe at one time did and other people have felt about childbirth and being a father for the first time, and like the horrifying sight of that. This could have had the subtitle "The Horrors of Being a Father." That's kind of what this movie is.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of just like relationships in general, because I think it applies to both having a child for the first time and like settling down with like a wife.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's just kind of like, it's a lot of just kind of going through emotion.
Yeah, I didn't think about this until you just said that, but it's... So I'm going to have a hard time not thinking I'm overthinking things while I'm talking about this movie, because it's a movie that's kind of meant to do that to you, I guess, and that's, I'll just say up front, one of the things that I get really frustrated about with looking at this kind of a movie, I want to say picture, it's kind of a picture.
It's kind of a picture, kid.
Is that the metaphor in a lot of the individual symbols do feel too open-ended to me, too vague, too arbitrary. Any read is a potentially plausible read because I don't have enough stuff that's all interconnected and not just a story, but like ideas that are cohesive enough altogether where I can say, here's my evidence to support this. Like, there aren't a lot of reads that you could throw at this that I think you'd be necessarily wrong about. It does, like, I'm sorry, but a thing like this does read a little bit pretentious to me. And maybe on multiple viewings I would feel differently about it as more things are connecting and I'm appreciating more things about it. But I've never really cared, and this is just a personal taste thing, because I know a lot of people love stuff like this and love this movie specifically. This has a cult fan base, maybe more than a cult fan base at this point. Wasn't real well received when it came out. It's contemporarily 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's in the like, you know, Congress's film vault where they, you know, preserve movies, all of that. Like, it's an important movie. I get that. My issue with a thing like this is the attitude seems to be, you're here and I've got you now. and you're going to have no cause to leave. So no matter how you're feeling and whether you're engaged by this material, I know it's like I've locked the door and nothing will make you leave. And I come from the um I've always come from the philosophy, at least as a storyteller, of nobody cares about your story. You have to hook people. You have to make them want to keep reading. And this is not me complaining that this is not enough of a traditional narrative. I get that this is much more about like creating an atmosphere, making you feel something, and maybe something very specific, and all of that. I have some issues with the way the surreality is handled with this, because sometimes I think maybe it's supposed to have an internal logic, and sometimes I don't. So there's a consistency question. But I'm not complaining that it's too surreal necessarily. What I'm complaining about is just this kind of attitude of half an hour in, I still don't have anything to latch onto, and it's throwing stuff at me, going, "You're in a locked room and you can't leave," and it feels almost like a sensory deprivation exercise to me, where it's like, like you put the goggles on me and you handcuff me to a chair and you just put whatever bizarre images in my mind that you're kind of forcing me to see, and like as it goes along, it gets very interesting, and I start getting more of a sense of what the thing is about. But I don't like being 20 minutes into a movie really wanting to turn it off because I don't have anything to latch onto yet. That was the toughest thing about this experience for me. And I have to tell you, I set aside enough time to watch this in one sitting, and I still had to pause it and walk around my house a couple of times. I had a really difficult time just watching this front to back. When I got to the last 20 minutes, and we'll spoil this movie, when he is in the room with the deformed fetus baby, the Eraserhead, and I think the title I think the title is about the baby and that his head looks like an eraser.
I thought it just came from the segment where they put his head into the thing and they like.
I thought there was an attempt at a double entendre there. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
See, this is what I'm talking about, is like, you and I will have totally different reads for everything in this movie, and it will all be valid because it's so completely arbitrary.
Well, and the pencil thing is the one thing where I'm like, or is one of the things where I'm like, I don't entirely know what we're getting at here. But okay.
Yeah, and we'll talk about all that, but, sorry, I stole the floor there for too long, but that's, but anyway, I just wanted to give you a sense of my experience sitting through this. Not my kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that I can't certainly appreciate it as a I don't want to say a curiosity because that's too dismissive. I just mean, like, as an academic study, this is a really interesting thing, but it's not an entertainment for me, and that's the disconnect I have with a lot of people with movies like this, is there are, and I suspect you might be one of them, so we'll hear from you in a second, Austin, and see if you are, but I'm not the kind of person that can put a thing like this in and just, like, eat popcorn and enjoy it. I don't have that. This was... in certain places, especially, a little bit of kind of a torture device for me. I have to say.
Oh damn. No, I feel like I'm probably in the middle of where you are and the people that you're talking about. Like I can go either way on stuff like this. Because I also have like I need a character thing that like kind of brings me in, and I don't think this movie has it. Like there was no like, oh, I'm latching on to this character.
Well, and again, I don't mean even necessarily character if that's not the point. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
of course.
Like a story needs to have that. If this is not going to tell a story, fine. Like I'm not. I've got friends that are very much in the camp that movie must equal story, and I don't entirely have that. I mean, I might to some degree for my own personal taste, but as far as just, like, it doesn't count as a film unless it's telling a story, I don't agree with that, because it doesn't have to be necessarily a storytelling medium as long as it's making it clear that this is visual art before this is in actual traditional narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more about just kind of expressing feelings about like a specific topic. Like we said, with the whole kind of like settling down with children and like a wife of some sort.
It's really interesting to me that this is his first movie, Austin. And I said this to you last night, but I got to get this in this video. I feel like with this movie anyway, David Lynch becomes a filmmaker because the music video has not been invented yet.
Yeah, so I'm on a Discord call with some of the people from our Patreon Discord server, and Cap texts me this as I'm walking around, and I look down, and as somebody else is talking, I just blurt out laughing.
Now that you've seen it, you see what I'm
really
talking
funny.
about, right?
I know, I can understand where you're coming
Go
from.
back and look at mid-'80s MTV videos. They look like this, some of them.
Cap just heard Tonight Tonight playing the entire movie. Especially when the woman was doing a little jig.
Oh, yeah. No, there is a little bit of Phil Collins going on. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some Smashing Pumpkins, Smashing Eraserhead.
Oh, Smashing Pumpkins. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about a Phil Collins song. Because Phil Collins has...
Does he have another song called Tonight Tonight?
I don't know if the song is actually called that, but there's lyrics that do that in a song that by Phil Collins, and I thought that's what you were talking about. But anyway, so describe your experience with this.
I mean, that's basically my description right there. Is just yeah. So I put this movie on and let it wash over me. Just kind of watched it. There's a lot of stuff I really liked. I don't know like what it was, because this movie, from what I've like just kind of looked, is like beloved for its sound design. That's like a big thing. A lot of the sound design kind of gave me a headache throughout the movie.
Yeah, I read that too, and I found that perplexing.
Well, I just don't know if maybe I was like just kind of in a spot where like it maybe just hit me wrong. Like I didn't get a great sleep last night. Maybe just kind of, just kind of built on top of that.
But I had that too. I mean, like it could have like in the composer credit, it could have said scored by all-encompassing noise.
It's by somebody going. It's a lot of that.
It's because again, this sounds dismissive and not thoughtful, and I don't want to spend the whole time just using the word interesting. There's a lot of things like that I found interesting that I don't know what to do with. So I mean, like it's. Again, it's supposed to be unnerving. You're supposed to feel the way this guy does with unexpected child and the grossness in his mind of both sexual intercourse and childbirth. I was going to say earlier when I started to say I'm overthinking things with this movie, but like, how do you not? I wonder if the main character in this isn't like himself overthinking things, like certain things, where it's like sex is gross, childbirth is gross, like not overthinking, but like thinking about these things more than a lot of people do. You know what I mean? So like if you're just driven by primal instincts, you go especially most of the males of the species, you go sex is nice, I want as much of that as I can get, right? And you're not thinking that like almost objectively there are things about this that if you could take a step back, it's kind of weird that we enjoy this as much as we do, right? And that, I mean, a weird thing to talk about on the channel, but this is what the movie's about. The childbirth, less so. Everybody thinks that's gross, but a lot of people won't talk about it that way, of course. It's the miracle of childbirth. You kind of ignore all of that because at the end of it you get...
Because you gotta lie to yourself.
You get a miracle. It's almost like, and this is what I really like about the movie, and all the things I really like about this are either... images that stuck with me, or the way the movie is made, or just kind of ideas on the page. So I like the it's, I don't know if counterculture is the right way to put it, but there's this kind of like subversive thing he's doing where he goes, it's not okay and acceptable to express what I'm feeling about this, so I'm gonna make a movie to do it. And he goes, I find, and not even necessarily because I don't want to speak for the man obviously and try to get too much in his head, but I'm sure it isn't like by and large, children are gross, I don't like those. It's like feelings you have in a moment, or like different parts of yourself. He is maybe,
I think like rushing into it too, 'cause there's
yeah,
that of like, oh yeah, now we have this child. What?
yeah.
You know?
And before you're ready, I mean,
Yeah,
this
that's what I mean. Yeah.
protagonist is, in some ways, almost infantilized. Like he's not really an adult yet. It feels like it feels like he's almost like not ready to do the adulting thing. That's why he's played as so passive. You notice that he's not a. And again, not a traditional narrative. I don't usually want to watch a story about a guy who isn't proactive at all. But he's not proactive until the very end. Like at all. He just lets things happen to him. That person's not ready to take on responsibility.
Yeah, well, and he's kind of living in this crappy life where you have this little gross Betteray Bill baby that like is screaming at all times. You have a wife that he clearly doesn't really connect with, and she wants out of there. And he stares into the radiator and imagines like this woman that he could be with that is kicking all the sperm worms away. No children for them. I don't know why she has the mumps, but
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out either, and you have a read on it, and I didn't have any read on it. Like,
I just because it was like that kind of like imagination thing, where he like stares at it and then it kind of glows up and then you go
yes.
into the world.
Yes, I get that, and it took me a while to get that, because as it was happening, I didn't understand that it was supposed to be in his imagination. It took until he comes out of it. After you see him lose his head and it turns into a pencil eraser and everything, and then when he kind of snaps out of the trance, I'm like, okay, this was surreality inside of surreality, and that's part of what's funky about this movie to me, is I feel like there's already, I'm getting ahead of myself now, but you brought it up, so I'm gonna go ahead and go there.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Yes, exactly. You're already in a world that is deeply surreal and stylized, and where I don't know how much of what's happening in the first place. I don't know if you watched it this way, but I kept going, is it, and I know I say this a lot about things, is it unreliable protagonist? I can't say narrator, because I don't know how much in his head we really are, but like, is it that these things are actually what's happening, or like how much of what we're seeing is literal? Like even up before we got to the radiator bit, I didn't know how much of it was literal. I was like, is the baby actually, does it actually look like E.T. or like the aliens from Alien, or is that how he's perceiving it because he's so freaked out about all of this? Is he imagining that it reminds, like, is it reminding him because it was born prematurely and because he wasn't ready for a baby, and maybe because, like, I got the sense maybe sex itself freaked him out. Like, maybe they did that one time and he didn't know how to feel about it and it was weird for him. And then when the mom comes on to him, I mean, that's weird all by itself, and I don't understand why that's happening at all. That was a thing I didn't get. Like, why is the mom trying to make out with him? Okay. But I digress. When,
he's got an edible complex.
It Oedipus, right? Yes. When she goes, when she kind of comes after him and is trying to get him to tell her if they've had sex, he doesn't want to talk about that and doesn't like that she's asking, and I don't know how much of it is supposed to be that's just private and I don't want to get in trouble with her mom, and also these people are freaky deaky and I want out of here, or how much of it is I'm not comfortable with that subject in the first place because it made me uncomfortable. There's just this whole, I'm really latching onto this gross out factor of everything connected to the biology of conception and delivery. And so I didn't know how much of what was happening was supposed to actually be literal. Like, were the chickens really that not done, or was he just imagining it that way? And like I wasn't sure. And then once you get to the radiator business, I was very lost because I was like, I'm already seeing things I don't know. How much of it is really happening, and then you get in his head, and all that stuff happens. He loses the head and all of that, and okay, Paul. And then when he comes back from it, then we get back into the rest of the surreality. So we had a surreality inside of a surreality. I don't know how much of any of this I'm supposed to take literally.
Yeah,
Especially because you open with symbolism that isn't in his head, right? Like the whole thing opens with like the planet thing, with the person, I guess, in space with levers.
he's God, I guess. I don't know. You get like that kind of sex thing where he's got like the giant worm that comes out and then it goes into the
that's clearly supposed to be a conception
I don't
metaphor.
know what the guy doing that is. I don't know. He's God, I guess. The chicken thing, I assume, is just like the metaphorical image for like her having the baby, but I don't.
But it also serves
literal.
It also serves as foreshadowing, because he is forced to carve the chicken at the dinner, and then at the end he does the same thing with the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is true.
All I can do is make observations, though. I don't know what to take from some of this. Like, I was reading, because I was lost on some of this, and I'm not trying to just regurgitate like meanings I read. I read a couple of suggested like ways to read the movie, interpretations, as I was trying to develop an interpretation. And what I was finding was a lot of people just in disagreement about what the movie means, what certain aspects of the movie mean. Like, everybody gets it's about sex, it's about childbirth, it's about a man who is scared to be a father, and the horrors of fatherhood. And as a father, some of that actually did resonate with me. Like, I'm real far away from new fatherhood, but like I was able to put myself back in the position of when I first became a dad, and yeah, I mean, there's things about it that are kind of horrifying, and initially, and the biggest thing, of course, is just you don't know if you're up to the task, and nothing can make you fully prepared for the unpredictable nature of it, and the children can't be, like, babies can't be controlled. So, like, they need you to do everything for them, and sometimes you need things that they can't give you, and you sympathize and get that. But yeah, there are times you just want to scream at them, shut up, like, certainly.
Yeah, 'cause you can't put the baby in the corner. It's right there. Yeah, no, of course. I didn't really look into like different stuff. I had the day off today, so just kind of driving around and thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I found I had more of that after the movie. Like, it was one of those where like I watched it, kind of watched over, and then afterwards it was like, okay, now it's kind of piece it together now that it's done.
Well, see, I was doing that too, but there were just certain things that I couldn't.
Well, there's like stuff
I didn't get
that too.
Like
I said, like I don't know. He's a pencil neck Eraserhead. They turn his head into pencils. I don't know. The woman has the mumps because she stores acorns. She's a good provider.
See, when I said earlier that you have a read on her and interpretation, and I didn't, what I meant by that is, you saw her as, like, you made the leap to, she is the woman he imagines being with. I didn't even go that far. I wasn't sure what she was like, and that's a fair read, again, because I think almost every read is a fair read with this. But when you get to the end of the movie, like, they do embrace, and like, what does that mean? And so, like, I get why you put that together, but at least for the sake of the audience, she seemed to almost be meant to be the most, like, unnerving character in the piece. Like, she's going around. Again, this is also foreshadowing. She's going around stomping the worm creatures that are the I guess the same thing that the baby is, or supposed to just kind of look sort of like that.
I think it's supposed to be like sperm, like it's like no kids, just kind of stomping at it. And since he's like not into the like kid thing, that's part of why I think it kind of fits in, like that's what he wants, because it's somebody who's not somebody you can't connect with, like his wife, and
See,
just kind of stomp away the kid thing.
But I think you're interpreting that just because she's female. Because I also wondered if, and I read somebody else who had this too, and this was a thought I had while I was watching it. Is she supposed to be like the part of like the dark part of his psyche that just wants to kill it because it's weird? You know what I mean? And and he doesn't want to. And also, it's real mouse. She's real mousy and reserved, like he is. Like she's up there on stage performing, and she looks nervous, and she's stomping around on all these things, and that's what's giving her pleasure. Like, what exactly does all of that mean? But then you get to the end, and arguably he commits infanticide. But even that I wasn't 100% sure about. Because, like, he unwraps the bandages or the swaddle or whatever it is.
And then it's kind of like holding it together, and it, like, peels off.
Yeah, and that read more like a reveal to me that it did he was intentionally killing it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I had, too.
But a lot of people think that he was intentionally killing it when he did that.
Well, and I mean, I think it would probably fit.
But I think about anything fits. That's what's so frustrating about a thing like this to me. A couple people in the comments saying there is no actual real story. I get that, and again, that's not what I'm complaining about. But I want, but I do with a thing like this want a little bit more to latch onto, so that I can, so that I don't feel like I'm just grasping at straws and unsure if, because I like ambiguity in a piece like this up to a point where, like, you can, the reader, or the viewer rather, is given credit where he can bring something of himself to the table and be able to, and there's multiple possible interpretations. But the problem is, I've got this nagging thing in the back of my mind while I'm watching a thing like this that says, the filmmaker threw a bunch of crazy stuff on the screen and hoped it meant something. That's what it watches like to me. But I don't want to be dismissive, because it's not all that way, and that's probably not really true.
Yeah, so I've always been in the mindset with art that you just kind of make it, and you don't need to explain it. You just make it. And the explaining part is for the audience, where you watch it and you go, okay, like, you kind of figure it out for yourself. Like, I hate when movies over explain what they're about, and I do think there's a point where you can go over it, where it is that kind of moment where you're like, this feels pretentious, like it feels like it's up its own.
Exactly. Where's that line between being pretentious and just putting what comes out of you up on canvas? Because that's valid, but like where is it self-indulgent?
Yeah, and I think for me, there's enough of it that I think just on a first viewing I can kind of connect to the overall theme and what it's about, that I don't have the pretentious thing where I'm like, okay, this is clearly like how this all kind of fits together. There's certain things I'm not sure about. I don't know, maybe like another viewing I'll maybe start to piece that stuff together too. But I think that's why this film doesn't fall into like that area. Like, I do really like this movie, even if it's not like one of my favorites overall. Like, I do appreciate this movie.
Well, and I feel like I can appreciate things it's doing, or even the movie on the whole, and still flip my sign red. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like this movie. I find it really interesting, and I'm glad I've seen it, I guess. Like, it's a thing I don't mind studying, but it did feel like work. I do feel like I'm in a class, and
that's fair.
And I feel like I'm in a. And this is nobody's fault except for Connor's, but I feel like I'm in a. I feel like I'm in a class where somebody gave me what will end up being my favorite assignment real early in the semester, and now I gotta do all the work now, you know?
All I know is that Connor's grading you on this, so you better get it right, dude.
Josh put in a couple $2 super chats. He retracted the first one, but the second one, I think the first one said...
I think he changed the right, like...
Yeah, but I liked having both of them, so I'm going to read it that way, because at first he wrote, sometimes I feel like Eraserhead, and then he wrote, sometimes I feel like the Eraserhead baby, and I kind of liked having both of those, because...
Sometimes he feels like his hair's up here, and sometimes he feels like a fetus better a bill, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's kind of two Eraserheads. It seems like.
He never feels like the wife, though. He never just wants to get out of here.
Matthew Base we're jumping all over the place, but to an earlier point I made, he does stab it after he cuts it open. Yeah, but what I meant was I wasn't sure if he opened it.
If he killed it and, like, he killed it when it opened up.
I wasn't sure if he opened it to kill it.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know what's going to happen when he does that. And it seemed like a big mystery the whole time. What does the rest of the body look like? Like, I didn't realize that bandage thing or whatever it was holding his guts inside. So does the protagonist know that? How would I know if he knows that? He could have gone to the hospital. It was that way already. He took it home. I mean, somebody should probably tell him that, but I wasn't privy to a conversation. I don't know. So when I mean, we have to look at the evidence we have. Like, when he opens the bandage up, he's been trying to leave. But I don't know if he's planning on coming back, or if he's just leaving. Like, I don't know why he's leaving. Is there something I'm forgetting? Because I kept wondering that. I was like, why is he leaving? Like, is he going to come back? So, like, was he going to just abandon it? Or if not, if he planned on coming back, the reason if it's true that it was intentional infanticide from the beginning, he unwraps it because he just can't take anymore. Like, the baby cries every time he starts to leave, and it's also really creepy because just before that, the baby was, like, cackling at him for some reason. Like, that's real disturbing. I don't know why it was laughing at him. And so, like, he's got all these reasons to be like, I just can't even deal with this anymore. Like, my wife was right, I gotta get out. Or was it more, because I don't know, I tend to be a glass half full guy. I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt. This guy has made no moves the whole time. Like, he's playing chess and he's never moving a piece. And so I was like, maybe he is doing this for the baby somehow, where it's like, I'm going to open this up and see if I can finally, like, make this baby happy somehow. And then, oh god, the guts are everywhere. What do I do? Well, I guess it's dying anyway. I'll put it out of its misery. That was initially my read. And a lot of people think that he was killing it. And if the girl in the furnace is supposed to be the dark part of him that wants to kill the baby, then that lines up, and I have no read on her, so now I'm starting to think maybe that is what it is, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, well, and because my read was the exact opposite of yours, where she's like the kind of, like, you know, happiness, like a happy life. That would also, I think, fit into killing the baby, because the baby's like the thing that's anchoring him down. Good
call. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I guess that probably is what that's getting at. I don't know, there's certain things that you probably piece together just talking about it like that.
Connor is here, and he has comments. He says that comfort and familiarity. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to something he was starting earlier. Let me read this whole novel he wrote. The union of the unhappy relationship is represented as a deformed, malnourished baby. This relationship makes the couple unhappy, but it's comfortable and familiar. That comfort and familiarity is something you kind of cherish, even if it's an ugly. He doesn't have a noun there. Like a baby, in order to achieve happiness, the lady in the radiator, that's your read, you need to kill that union. And that could be hard, like killing a baby. Okay, I mean, I didn't think of it that way, and I've seen this one time. So like maybe that is what it's getting at. Somebody mentioned that Lynch refuses to explain anything about this movie, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. I will disagree with one thing he said though, which
Yeah.
is that killing a baby is hard. Clearly, it was very easy. He just cut the thing and then it opened.
Oh, Austin. As far as the pencil thing, the eraser thing, the best I can come in, like, this isn't a fully formed thought and it doesn't fully gel, I don't think. But the only thing I could come up with why erasers, like why pencils and erasers, is because this is a thing that he didn't want. He wishes he could erase things and start over.
Yeah,
Like that.
like the pencil is what you create with, the eraser is what you remove it with. So, he has a baby and then is getting rid of it.
Yeah, that's the best I can come up with. I don't know what that has to do with his head, besides just. Okay, you're gonna laugh at me when I say this. Is it a phallic thing?
Maybe.
Like the
That's
pencil.
where babies come
The
from.
pencil end is what helped to create the child. That's the bottom of him. And the top is his head, and that's the eraser. And if he could only use his intellect to, like, make his life what it wants to be, but he can't do that without destroying what he created in the first place. I think the pencil is a phallic symbol. And I never go to that. That's the most easy, like, that's the easiest possible thing with a thing like this to go to. Oh, everything's symbolic of a phallic thing. I think it is in this case, maybe.
Well, that's what the dancing woman was. That was a phallic symbol. That's why she had the mumps.
See, what I don't like is that you're joking, but you might be onto something. That's...
No, he's a pencil neck and an eraser head,
Chair Bear, I hope you guys didn't watch this movie on your phone. No, did not watch this on my phone.
That's like a famous David Lynch thing. He gets mad about
Oh,
the
I
idea
see.
you can watch movies on your phone.
I didn't know why you were saying that. I forgot he said that, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, don't watch movies on your phone. Watch them in the movie theater like you're supposed to.
Don't download the song. So yeah,
Don't
so
burn in hell before too long.
So Austin, are you flipping green on this?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. Like I said, it's not one of my favorite movies. I don't know. I could see myself growing on it more and more as I watch it. But yeah, I liked it quite a bit. It's the first movie I can say gave me a headache, and I still enjoyed it.
Oh wow, that's crazy. This was the hardest watch I've had in a while. Like, this might have been, just for me personally, this might have been, and you watch a lot of horror films, you like a lot of, like, body horror stuff, and, I don't know, gross out horror, and I have a hard time with it. It's not my thing. I don't derive a lot of joy from that on the face of it. Like, there's got to be enough going on underneath it that I'm latching onto where I can either dismiss that or I feel like it has to have that in order to do what it's doing. And by and large, most of the time I don't have that with things. This was probably the hardest thing that I've had to sit through since Society.
Interesting. That does remind me though, one thing I wanted to mention, which is the baby prop is like way too real looking. Like, I don't know what they made that out of, but
it's impressive.
Like, it's nuts. And then when they open it up, they did a thing that I've never seen in anything else except for the original Evil Dead, which is that it spews out mashed potatoes. And I like that.
Look, that stuff is all really effective. I mean, like too much so for me. Like that's a I'm giving it a compliment when I say that. Like, I'm supposed to be freaked out by that, and I absolutely am. Dan's News is in the comments, and I haven't seen Dan in a long time. Hi, Dan. He says, I love horror. The stuff with the baby is tough to watch. Also, hi. I'm just coming in and don't know the cliff notes on Feeling, but I love Eraserhead. I figured you were probably, if you've seen this movie, Dan, a fan of Eraserhead. I did not care for this movie. I found it very difficult to watch, but I'm finding it very interesting to discuss. Certainly,
It's not red on one side, but I flipped green, so.
hey, something I meant to mention earlier, Austin, is I noticed a lot of really early filmmaking influences with this. There's a lot of silent film era, obviously. It's like 15 minutes before anybody says anything in this. I kind of wondered if, 10 or 15, I kind of wondered if it was going to be a silent film. Like, it's in black and white in the first place, and I'm like, okay, this seems kind of right for the melancholy and the bleakness of this piece. But it also feels like kind of almost like an early industrial thing, which a lot of, in almost like anti-industry thing, which a lot of the silent, like really serious silent films were doing. And I don't know if this was a direct influence, but I was feeling Fritz Lang like all over this.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I was thinking of the Tonight music video where she has her little happy jig, because that is very like, I mean, that music video in and of itself. Looking back at what is that classic sci-fi film? The one where they get shot into the moon. I can't think of what it's called, but it's very much looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't call this like German expressionism in nature, but there are shots that remind me a lot of Lang, and also
there's some spice added to it of that.
And it's a little bit like something like Metropolis or like M, in that it's imagery as metaphor before it's entirely literal. Which is why I didn't really care for having a dream sequence in the middle of this, because it just confuses the whole thing.
Trip to the Moon, that's what it's called.
There you go. I couldn't think of it right off either.
I was just
saying, and also I wasn't totally sure if that's the movie you were talking about. So
for like years, I talk about that movie a lot because it's really great, but I can never remember the title. So it's always like, you know the movie I'm talking about, where they shoot to the moon and it lands on the eye.
Rainbow Nightmare. Cap, as a father, did this movie make you uncomfortable? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would have been, even if I wasn't a dad, but as a father, the part that actually bothered me the most, and keep in mind, like in a first viewing, the scene that was most uncomfortable for me, I guess maybe besides the chicken cutting bit, just because what am I watching right now? Like, what is even happening? The hardest thing as a dad to watch was the woman, the wife, screaming at the child, not knowing what she was going to do. Because that's really super intense, and I don't know if you had this, Austin, but I found myself wondering if she was going to do something to the baby.
No, I had that too. I was like, this is about to get really dark. And then she leaves, and it still gets really dark, but not in that way.
I just had a thought. Another thing that might be a decent read on something. All these moments where I'm like, why is this happening right now? When she decides to leave, she just can't take it anymore. She's going to go back home. She is yanking on the end of the bed just over and over and over again. And I'm like, what is happening? What is she doing? She finally, after like 13 tugs, ends up with a suitcase or something
that would totally just be able to fit and slide out. Yeah.
Did she have it pre-packed already? I wasn't sure what was happening, and she leaves with it.
She literally lives out of a suitcase.
And I was going, yeah, I mean, maybe like they just moved in and she hasn't unpacked yet, because that is his house or his apartment. Is that supposed to be more like disturbing, or is that supposed to be more disturbing, like sex imagery, where like he's being reminded of when they had intercourse and like banging up against the bed? Like, I hadn't thought of that until just now.
Well, I was definitely thinking about that just because of the. I mean, that's what the squeaking bed rocking back and forth.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking about it in the moment because I was just going, why is this happening?
I mean,
Why am I watching this right now?
I mean, I did have two reads in the moment where it was like, you have the phallic symbol of it all, and then you have the other one that's just kind of funny where you have a woman just kind of going the edge of the bed.
Thomas Lowe is great. He goes, David Lynch just played your feelings like a heart from hell. Connor, the suitcase yanking bit and the delayed elevator doors are an example of Lynch's sense of humor. Very Shaggy Dog. That's supposed to be funny?
I mean, I was laughing. I almost fell over laughing. It's shaking the bed like crazy.
Yeah, I had a really hard time finding humor in this at all. And what's funny is I had two minds about it because there were places, and I don't know if that was one of them, there were places where I was going, Austin is laughing right now.
I mean, I'm always laughing.
I am not, but if I was doing like a blind commentary on this right now, Austin would be laughing and I would be horrified. And there's a lot of that.
That's because I was born looking like the baby from this movie, so I'm just kind of damaged.
I'm damaged too after having to watch this. But no, like I said, a really interesting study. Not a thing that I had a good time watching, but I'm glad I saw it, I guess. Like, yeah. I'm enjoying talking about it before I was enjoying watching it. Daniel Davis said Cap is shaking. I mean, yeah, I've got that a little bit. Like,
he's just fuming. That's why we had 20 minutes left. He stopped and he did circles around his house like...
No, I wasn't angry. I just couldn't look at it anymore. I was like, I need a few minutes. I felt like I'd been, kicked in the stomach a few times. Like... That's really what I had with this. And I'm not alone, because even there are people in the live comments right now that are saying that they really like this movie and had a really hard time getting through the ending and some of the stuff with the baby and all of that.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some disturbing imagery. And like I said, that baby prop is nuts.
Dan says, I should get damaged by David Lynch tattooed on my hands.
Get on your forehead, just have damage, and then in little tiny letters by David Lynch.
Like David Lynch signs it in a tattoo?
Yeah, you could get him to sign your forehead and then have your tattoo artist tattoo over the signature. So it's permanent. There you go.
Austin, what else do we need to discuss about this movie?
I don't know, but I also feel like every time you ask me that, it's always like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's good. I don't know. Do you have anything else, Cap?
I just remember this. I also wondered from the first frame that we see the protagonist, how in the world Brendan Fraser is in a movie in 1977 at this age.
Oh, no. I want to see the remake of this movie with modern day Brendan Fraser. I don't know who'll direct it, but make it happen, Hollywood.
Well, anyway, everybody, thanks a lot for watching the ReQuest. If you would like to make a request on the program, $15 tier on Patreon. Right now, the wait time is about 3 to 4 months. It's patreon.com/geekvolution. You can ask for a movie, a TV pilot, or episode of a show that we know a little bit, or you can ask for a graphic novel or a miniseries or a short run of comics, an arc. And next time we're going to be doing comics, Austin. We're going to be tackling something called Infinity Warps, which I have heard of but know nothing about. And Goofster123 asked for that. So I'm going to look that up and see what that is, and that's what we're tackling next time. That is a Marvel
Infinity
thing.
Warps.
Yeah, so there's Infinity Wars and there's something called Infinity Warps. I don't really know what it is, but that's what he's asked for next time.
Yeah, it sounds like a parody. That's like a parody that would be made right now.
Bye, Dan. Thanks for being here, man. Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and get going. This was a show, and we made it through it.
We did it.
And now I gotta go deal with something completely different. This is my life, man. I watched this, and now I have to go to more Power Rangers comics for tomorrow, and then, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Star Wars after that for Sunday, just
I'm going back to
jumping around.
reading my book, which is very much in line with this, which is the Norm Macdonald book, very much like Eraserhead, but in prose. So that'll be good.
Connor, I love hearing your thoughts. Cap, I had a feeling you'd have the reaction you did, but it was insightful to listen to regardless. Thanks, Connor. I really appreciate that, man. And honestly, I think I appreciated this a lot more after doing a few more things a little bit like this than I would have, even a few years ago. Like, I don't know, there's this disconnect where, like, I'm appreciating it more than I'm enjoying it on like, an intellectual level, but there's also still that part of me that's like, you just threw a bunch of stuff at the screen and hope it meant something. It really isn't entirely that. Like, there's definitely enough, that's clear that it's more than that, but there's enough details where I'm just like, I don't know. I think you might just be being random right now. You can't tell me why the mother tries to kiss him. You can't explain that.
I don't know. David Lynch thought it was hot. It was a phallic symbol. I don't know.
You can't explain why the old lady at the table just goes into, like, insane convulsions for no reason.
No, but that was really funny.
Or is it the same person? That might be the same person.
Yeah, that was the mom. Yeah, because he starts to, cut into the chicken, and then she starts screaming. Connor and Noah also keep quoting that the Heaven song, the one with that little jig.
That was disturbing. I don't like that song.
Seeing it written down, all I can think of is that scene with Heaven is a Place on Earth played over it. So that's kind of unfortunate, seeing it written.
And Lynch wrote that, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, or wrote the lyrics anyway. It's solid as a musical composition, but seeing it in that context, I never want to hear it again.
I just want to do, like, the little, like...
Oh, last thing I should mention real quick. I told you while I was watching it, because you hadn't started watching it yet. You didn't watch it till today. And while I was watching it, I sent you a message, and I was like, I shouldn't have started this late. I'm gonna absolutely have nightmares. And I had weird dreams after watching this. Nothing like what's in the movie, and nothing like actually nightmarish. Do you ever have this where it's just this sort of weird perspective thing, where, like, while you're dreaming, it feels like a nightmare, then you wake up and you're like, that was what I was freaking out about? Like, if you remember, have you ever had that?
Yeah, well, I had it specifically with a movie when I was a kid. I remember I had this, like, in the moment, really intense nightmare, and I can still remember it vividly to this day. But I woke up and it was like, man, that was crazy. But as I look back, it's like, that was the nightmare I had. But it was, as a kid, I remember being so excited for Spider-Man 3, and I was like, oh, it's coming, I'm so excited. And then I had this dream where Venom showed up and he was pink. And just the entire movie was a pink Venom, and I was, like, horrified by it. And I woke up and I was like, oh man, what if Spider-Man 3 sucks? That can't happen. No, that's definitely, it was just a nightmare.
My dream last night was about a talent show. Maybe because of the woman with the paper mache face.
Did a little jig.
Maybe that's why. And I was supposed to do, and I don't even know what my talent was supposed to be, but I was supposed to do some kind of performance for this talent show. And the guy that was running the talent show wouldn't let me be in the talent show. And I had, like, a shouting match with this guy, and he got, like, really scary and was screaming at me, and, like, that freaked me out for some reason. It's weird, but the whole thing was, for some reason I wasn't able to do my talent. Like, I don't know if somebody that was supposed to do it with me didn't show up or something, and then I was like, well, that guy has a drum kit, and I can play the drums, so I'll just make up a drum solo, and so he'll let me be in the talent show. And then the guy, this is in my dream, the guy's argument for why I couldn't use his drums was not because he didn't want anybody else to touch his drums, but because people listen to the audio of this talent show that have never heard music before. And you can't have just drums because he doesn't want that to be the first time someone hears music. That's what this movie did to me, Austin.
Did the kid before you at the talent show, did he sing My Ding-a-ling like the kid in The Simpsons? That was the phallic
No.
symbol stuck its way in.
It's got to be in there somewhere, yeah. Anyway, well, I got to get going. Everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll do another one for you next Tuesday on some comics, mixing it up a little bit. And once again, $15 tier on Patreon if you would like to give this a shot and give us something to review. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin the Day Ghost.
I am the phallic ghost now.
Oh, no.
Just for this episode.
Why'd you have to say that out loud? It's like Sonic saying, I'm the groin.
Oh, I remember when I saw that in the theater. When he said that, I had this vivid thought of you watching that movie for the first time and seeing that.
I'll be back again tomorrow night with more Power Ranger comics for review with Jason. And in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching. Bye, everybody.